Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is May 25th, 2025, and Hansi Flick has confirmed the signing of a left winger. Also, Barcelona suffered two major blows yesterday, both to the Barca Femini and Barca Athletic. And finally, Ansu Fati has greenlit his exit out of Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and as you can see, I'm not home. I'm not in my YouTube studio. Yesterday, I had an emergency trip. I had to leave town last minute. I had to drive 4 hours to Washington, D.C. This is where I'm currently at. This is why you don't see my studio. Also, this is why I'm bringing you this short live, because I'm not in my studio, so I cannot film, edit, and upload. Instead, I'm doing this live to keep you up to date on all Barcelona news. And that's also the reason why I wasn't able to make any videos yesterday. But don't worry, because I brought my laptop with me. And of course, I'm going to be giving you all the news in regards to Barcelona. Now, let's start real quick because Barcelona are currently playing their last match of the season against Athletic Club de Bilbao. So I'm going to try to give you as much news as possible, as fast as possible, so we can all go back to watching the match. But let's talk about the pre-match press conference, because there were some things that Hansi Flick said that I think are worth mentioning, including with the preseason date. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have a preseason date, an official preseason date. And while this is what Hansi Flick had to say, we will start the preseason on Sunday, 13th of July, with tests and training on Monday. We have a lot of players with their national teams. I will try to switch games in Stuttgart, watch games in Stuttgart like Spain, France. Then I'll go on holiday. I'm going far away. So, ladies and gentlemen, Flick confirming that the preseason will officially start on July 13th, which, of course, as usual, the first day you do the medical exams, make sure all the players are healthy, fit, and ready to go. And then after that, the training will begin. And of course, the preseason will also include the Asia tour, which will include 2 matches in Korea and 1 match in Japan. And then finally, the last preseason match, as always, the Joan Gamper Trophy, which hopefully will be played at the Spotify Camp Nou. Now, today, after Barcelona finished their match against the Club de Bilbao, the whole team will fly back to Barcelona. And of course, the players, the coaches, they're all going to be free to go take vacations, free from any training, free from any Barcelona matches. Some of them will play international matches, but of course, they are officially off duty, or after that match will be officially off duty from Barcelona. Now, the second thing that I want to cover is that Hansi Flick was asked, is he going to change his tactics for next season? And this is what the Barcelona coach had to say. We will. Where did it go? There you go. You will see next season. Our style is very clear. So as always, Hansi Flick not really saying much. Saying you will see next season whether he changes his tactics or not. But at the same time, he says our style is very clear. So I think Flick here saying, in other words, no, right? Flick has a very clear philosophy on how to play. That's the philosophy he implemented at Bayern. That's the philosophy he's implemented at Barcelona. And of course, he's going to continue using that philosophy. After all, it won him a sextuple this season. It won him 3 trophies, three national trophies. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it doesn't make sense to change it. Can it be improved? Sure. And I'm sure Hansi Flick will be looking to learn from the mistakes during all the season. We'll be looking to improve and make things better. But as far as changing it, that doesn't make sense. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Plus, I believe in teams, once they find a philosophy, is to stick to it and work on improving it and perfecting it rather than changing it, because otherwise you're never going to perfect what you're working on if you get constantly changing it. And of course, I bring this up because a lot of people are like, oh, the high line, the offside trap, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but all those things you complain about, it's the things that brought you 3 trophies. So why would you want to change it? What you want to do is improve it so it works even better. And hopefully, maybe next season, it brings us the Champions League. Now, finally, Hansi Flick was asked about Luis Diaz and Marcus Rashford, because, of course, they are being linked with Barcelona, since Barcelona are looking for a left winger. And this is what Flick had to say. And in regards to Luis Diaz and Marcus Rashford, Flick said, I don't want to talk about players who are not in my team, but they are both fantastic players, and I like them. We'll see what happens. Now, as far as signing left winger, he says that's what we talked about in the last few games. We haven't had much of a chance there. We have to try to improve. So two things I want to cover here. Flick saying that he likes Rashford and Luis Diaz. And those, of course, two options that Barcelona are considering for the left wing. Since he says he likes them, in other words, it's going to be up to Deco. But whatever Deco brings Flick, he likes either one, so he'll be fine with signing him. Of course, I'm not a big fan of either. Luis Diaz, not so much because of his capabilities. I think he's a very capable left winger. However, given his age and his price, I don't think it will be the greatest investment. And as far as Marcus Rashford, given his inconsistency all throughout his career, I fear that it could be another Joao Felix. I mean, who knows? Maybe he comes here and ends up being amazing. He is, after all, very skilled. But given his history, it does give me some doubts. But it looks like Flick would approve of either one. So, of course, it's all in the hands of our sporting director, Deco. Now, as far as the left winger, Hansi Flick seeming to confirm that, yes, that's what Barcelona are looking for. Of course, as you know, Barcelona changed priorities. They were looking for a left winger and a fullback. No, they're no longer looking for a fullback because we do have Eric Garcia, who showed that he can be a substitute for Koundé. And on the left, Flick really likes Gerard Martin as a substitute for Alejandro Valde. Plus, we have Jofre Torrens coming up through the academy, which Flick thinks Jofre Torrens eventually could be a great competition for Valde. And here, Flick, confirming that news that Barcelona have shift priorities to wanting to reinforce the attack, more specifically the left wing. Now, that's as far as Hansi Flick's pre-match press conference, the last pre-match press conference of the 2024-2025 season. And now we move on to bad news because Barcelona yesterday suffered two big blows, starting with our ladies, our fearless ladies, who unfortunately lost the Women's Champions League final at the hands of Arsenal 1-0. And with that, the Barcelona Femini's hope of getting another treble this season have ended. Of course, they already won the league. They already won the Spanish Super Cup. And they are in the final of the Copa de la Reina, which is the women's version of Copa del Rey. But unfortunately, they did lose the Champions League final at the hands of Arsenal. So our ladies will not be taking home a treble. Hopefully, they will be able to take the domestic double just like the men did. And from this bad news, we move on to another bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barca Athletic have been officially relegated. This is really, really tough news. Of course, Barca Athletic had a pretty bad season. They had a change of coach. Things had started to get better, but I think the damage was just too big. They needed a series of results yesterday. Like they needed several teams to get certain results, including Barca Athletic beating Unionistas. Barca Athletic did what they needed to do, which beat Unionistas 2-1, but a late goal by Osasuna Promesas in a different match. Osasuna Promesas, of course, that's the academy team of Osasuna. They scored a goal at the 95th minute, so in stoppage time, and that prevented Barca Athletic from, being saved. And unfortunately, they have been relegated. So definitely bad news for Barcelona. Not so much because what Barca Athletic are doing, because after all, Barca Athletic have one job, which is to feed players to the first team, but because that will make it more difficult to sign young and up-and-coming talent, have them play in a relegated team versus, Barca Athletic in third division. Is definitely bad news, but hopefully next season, Barca Athletic will do a better job. There's a lot of talks about Giuliano Belletti taking over. Of course, Giuliano Belletti has done amazing with the under-19 youth team, with the Juvenil A, winning a treble. So hopefully next season, they'll be able to jump back up. So definitely two bad news, but from those two bad news, we move on to the last bit of news, and then we can all go back watching Barcelona versus Athletic Bilbao. And the last bit of news is in regards to Ansu Fati, because the player has greenlit his move to Monaco. Now, as I mentioned, I think it was in the live on Friday, Monaco had started negotiating with Jorge Mendes for the transfer of Ansu Fati to the French league. Of course, I said that could be an attractive project for Ansu Fati because after all, Monaco finished third in the Ligue 1, and that means they're going to be going to the Champions League. So Ansu Fati could, play in a Champions League with Monaco, and it looks like the player, has decided that, yes, indeed, that is an attractive project. He has greenlit his move, and now the negotiations are ongoing between Barcelona and Monaco for the transfer of Ansu Fati. Now, Barcelona would prefer a permanent transfer because, they want to remove his salary off their bill. Ansu Fati has an incredibly high salary, especially for a player that doesn't play. But given his high salary, that might get in the way. So we might be looking on a loan to Monaco with an option or an obligation to buy. We don't know yet. Negotiations are still ongoing, but just know that Ansu Fati will be headed to the League on. Anyways, that is all the news for this little live, for this short live. Let's go back watching Barcelona versus Barca Athletic. During the halftime, I will be doing another live, another short live, because there is more news to cover. Yesterday I didn't make any videos, so there was a lot of things I didn't cover. So, but don't worry, by the time you're done watching all videos today, you'll be up to date on all the news in regards to our beloved club. Anyways, that is all. Let's go watch the match. Hopefully Barcelona will win their final match. Obviously, it doesn't matter. They won the Liga. But let's go back watching the match, and I will see you guys during halftime. Thank you for watching, and as always, Visca Barça.